Very hard.
This can
Oh,
chat. I'll cut it
I'm not
out.
going to tell you my dirty laundry now then.
okay. No, not now.
All right, guys, it looks like we'll get stuck into it. Othelay, I can't remember if you have seen me talk about this before. Most of the other guys have. It'll be rehashing a lot of stuff, but it'll be a lot of motivation as well to get back into it. When I posted it, 90% of people are like, oh shit, like I've fallen so far off track, and that is completely normal. So I'm going to share my screen now and we will dive into it. So I'll just put you on mute, Julie, so you don't bother us with your eating. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping on, guys. I appreciate your time. I'll make this bigger. Hopefully, you guys can still see it. Cool. So, weight loss secrets by epigenetics. I'm gonna have to.
You're on mute, Josh. Did you
Thank you
mute
very
yourself?
much. I'm working off one screen, so it's knocking everything. Just some Zoom housekeeping sort of rules, guys. I'd love to keep it short and sharp. So if I do mute you, I'm not being rude or anything. Just trying to make sure everyone can hear. I may invite you to unmute if you want to share a little bit of an experience along the way. Screen on shows me you're probably paying attention. Screen off, you're probably doing other things and can't connect the dots. It's something I've noticed a lot, actually, even for myself when I say I'm trying to do something. If I'm not paying attention directly, almost no one can focus on two things and be able to retain and understand. So it's really important if you want to make some progress, just to think about that. Well, um, any questions, just chuck them in the Zoom chat or message me afterwards. I'd love to go through them. Hopefully, we can spark some curiosity. And if you want a copy of this to share with a friend, let me know and I'll sort that out. And if you want to book a call and chat afterwards, I'll post it again, but you can head to our website and do that. I appreciate you guys jumping on. As I said, time is your most valuable resource, and I really appreciate it. So, um, tonight's main purpose is to shift your perspective on weight loss. There's so many different ideas and opinions and things, and I've been coaching people for 14 years. I've seen 5 ways from Sunday to bloody do it, and I'm sure you guys have as well, going through the phases of like, I don't know, Anyo, you have these special drink. There's just weight has been such a thing on people's mind, and it becomes so heavy when you don't know how to do it or how to do it effectively or how to keep it off. So I really want to shift the way you think about it so that you can continue to live a life where you're not worried about it, and you can focus on things that make you actually happy. So a little bit about me for anyone on here that doesn't know or watching back. Own a gym, Think Fit in Western Sydney, done multiple things, learned lots of things, have got super shredded. Honestly, it's good for a photo. I didn't look anything like that in real life. I was skinny. I was like malnourished. I was falling asleep after eating ice cream. It's not what my body needed, and it's not the way it was built and what it was designed for. But we can force these evolutions, but for how long until the body fights back? So that's some of the things we'll talk about tonight. I'm much more healthier and happier here. I'm, not meal planning 15, 20 meals a week. I have a little bit of flexibility. Yeah, of course, I would like to lose some weight, but it's not the thing on my mind. So finding a healthy, happy relationship with your weight is a really powerful thing to do. And I think once you understand your body better and body shapes, then you can have that too. A little bit about our community. I've got some fantastic community members on at the moment. We've done incredible things. We've helped people shift their mindset. Some of these people that came to True Grit have never run 5K or 10K or jumped over an obstacle or been 2, 3 meters in the air. So for them to be able to achieve that and us to support them through it, that's what we really love. We do some awesome stuff in-house, some games. We've done some breath work in the past and ice baths, even though it doesn't look like ice. The ice melted really quickly. But that was a lot of fun, right? And there's even a spiritual side to the stuff we're going to learn today, but I won't talk about it. But when you can understand, like, hey, ice baths aren't necessarily for everyone, even though everyone's talking about them, and how to channel what's best for your body type. Yeah, little games and just really helping people live a better life. So just so I can see I've got the right people on here. Has anyone ever struggled to lose weight in the past? Yes, awesome. Who feels like as they get older, it isn't as easy to lose weight or maintain it? Yep. Plenty of nods. Who has tried more than one diet and not and nothing diet and nothing quite felt right for them? So like, have you ever been on a calorie counting buzz, for instance, and then just been like absolutely zapped, or tried keto or tried something else and just like, you might feel good for a little bit, but then it falls off track. Couple of people, yep, awesome. Who feels like their environment, whether it's at work or home, doesn't necessarily support their goals? Yeah, it's I know we were talking last night about your dad and some foods available. Um, it's just the reality, right? It's so hard to find that environment. And I want to push this idea home a little bit more. So, who remembers The Biggest Loser? Used to be a TV show. They'd jump on, they'd lose a stack of weight. Well, the main thing for them was the environment they in had changed so dramatically that they were forced to change. So, if we look at the stat, it ended up being most of the people regained 70% of the weight they had lost. And that's a lot of weight. It was like 90 kilos. Insane. That was on average. So to realize how important environment is really the key to staying healthy, right? Because our lifestyle depends on who we spend time with. So my greater purpose beyond just this conversation is to build an online community that has support and is empowered by each other to be their best selves, right? Because there's a huge difference between, just being around people and being around people when they're the best selves. When you think about it, I kind of, if you watch my video today, a good analogy we used at the presentation recently was, you have Karens that may be watching, but when they go into an environment, they just really disturb the peace. They make things frustrating. They get really angry at people. And those people kind of take that home and then probably talk about it at home and just make the home environment a bit shit as well. Versus if you have someone like Luke, one of our coaches, comes in, he's full of energy, just loves life, asks you the most random questions and just says, have a nice life. And you're like, oh, wow. And you go home more happy, more positive, right? So if we can create a community that understands themselves, that feels better about themselves, then we have a greater impact beyond just how we feel ourselves. And I think that's really important moving forward. I think if you can empower yourself to understand it's not just you're taking care of, it's other people as well. And that plays into a lot of biology for quite a few people on this call right now, but also a lot of the population that who actually put a lot of people first before them. And it results in them not being able to feel their best. So I want people to be inspired by people taking action so they don't feel like they're alone on this journey. So whether we do stuff together later, I just want you to see this group. I want it to be a constant reminder to be like, hey, like there is people living this way. It's not different or weird for me to be doing it. Like I need to spend more time around the people who are like this to feel better. So it really starts with you though. So understanding your motivation is really important. And I guess just think about it for a second. Like, why are you here tonight? I thought I'd look up a couple of reasons. I know you guys will all have your own, but I found it interesting. The main reasons people try to lose weight, health concerns, typically the older demographic, in terms of being directly told, hey, you need to do something about your blood pressure. Someone of status has told them that they need to actually do something and they finally listen and they do it. For younger people, for me, for instance, it is health concerns, but it's looking at older people and being like, wow, they didn't take care of themselves. Now they're suffering mentally or physically and they're just not enjoying life. And we're living life a lot longer now. Like we're living into our 90s. So wouldn't you rather have a life where you're functional and be able to take care of yourself and not be a burden to anyone else? And that's why it's kind of my motivation. Improved appearance is huge. And there's nothing wrong with that. We do want to feel good in our skin. Increased energy and mobility, which we see from a lot of people. Enhanced mental health, lifestyle, or life events. So what I tend to find is a lot of people come in on the improved appearance, but then the work they need to do, they don't quite know what to do. They end up landing on enhanced mental health because they're like, you know what, I may not be seeing any difference in my body, but I actually feel it mentally. And that's really powerful for a lot of people, especially with the way the world's going at the moment. But ultimately, you are truly one of a kind. So your identity, your motivations, and overall well-being, including your mental and physical state, are a mirror of your genetic makeup. which is shaped by your epigenetics. So we'll talk a little bit about epigenetics, but you need to understand this concept. So when we look at our genes are what our parents give us. So that's like our eye color, our hair length, our finger length, so many little things, but they just sit there and then they respond to our environment. So epi means around and genetics is the genes. So what happens around these to flick these switches on to create change in the body. So the environmental lifestyle epigenetics, yep, that makes sense. Then what happens is when we have our genes and then we have the life we've lived, it's going to create you and what you see in the mirror. It'll also, there's a few other deeper layers like blood level and blood pressure and things like that. But ultimately, for just the basic sakes, we want to think about when you look at someone, you can tell if they're healthy or not most of the time, right? Their eyes might be a bit bloodshot. They might be a bit thicker around the waist. There's obvious signs for that. And I want to show you a couple more, which aren't going to show you. Fantastic. But insights into your health status. So if I can remember correctly, this one was striations in your nails indicate you may be low in zinc. It was if you had an earlobe that is connected and a crease in it, you have different collagen than other people. And collagen is important for muscle, for joint connectivity, and understanding these things can shape the way you do things. Higher testosterone. So if you're, I keep getting this one wrong, but your index finger is longer than your ring finger, that means that you have higher levels of testosterone, which influences the way you behave, but also different body parts grow. And then if you have like bleeding gums, you may have high acidity levels, or you could have an overactive nervous system. Pretty interesting stuff, right? All this from understanding what happens on a genetic level through to what happens on an epigenetic level, which is larger. So can we all agree that as our health changes on the inside, our body changes on the outside too? Does everyone tend to agree with that? Yep, couple of nods. Awesome. So what influences these changes? Just to drive the method home, it's our epigenetics. And there's another photo missing, which is great. I don't know what's going on tonight. But basically understanding that the actions that you do, so whether it's your, try and go around the circle if I can remember it, even though it's not there. We have our physical inputs, so our exercise, we have our food, we have our sleep, we have the time at which we do things, we have the environment in which we do things, we have the work that we do day to day, and we also have like our mind, so our mindset. And when we have all these things and when we can understand what is needed for us or for us to operate most aligned to our biology, then we're going to see the greatest impact of our genes. And we may also see some of those genes that we have that aren't the greatest genes, like illness and disease, they won't switch on. So it's a matter of switching on or off and not constantly being switching on. So I've just gone through, I've just said you're unique. So how do we know that this process will work for you? Because of no more photos, which is great. But what we have is a stack of scientific evidence, which shows that this one's anthropometric ratios, which is the study of how different ratios on your body influence illness and disease. It shows us the pattern of how hormones have created your body as it is today. We can trace that information all the way back to embryology, which helps us understand that when you're in your mother's womb, the environment that was there, as well as the genes and how they interacted with each other, built the foundations for you and what you were going to look like in the future. And to be able to map that back based on your phenotype right now is absolutely insane. It's all correlations, but we know it, right? We have these sayings like, you know, short people usually have short people syndrome, like short man syndrome, and they're a bit more fired up. Well, it's not just because they're short, it's because they have more testosterone, which could have caused them to be shorter. And when we can play into these behaviors and understand, hey, we may be this way inclined, then we have an opportunity to overcome them or work with them to suit ourselves best. There's also other sciences which are starting to become a little bit more accepted now that science is catching up. So this one was traditional Chinese medicine. So understanding that different body types, different food affects the body differently. The time of day you do things can have a massive impact on that. And then also this one was Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old disease prevention medicine from India. people back then knew something. But what happened was we got into, I think it was like not Michelangelo, I'm going to say the wrong name, but like 1500s where they started to change medicine and they dissected the body and they separated why things were happening versus looking at the body as a whole system. So leveraging these old understandings and techniques and putting the information into the system, we're able to build this understanding of how people behave. So in this one here, the Ayurveda one, it has like the fire type people are actually activators who are known as the high energy bunnies. And then you have like the more earthy people, which is the guardians, and the way they behave is typically more supportive. Like they're the grounding people that you have in your life. They're the people that will listen to everything. And then you have the people that are a bit more windy, and they're the people that are a bit more neural. They're a bit more anxious because they're hyper aware. They're built to be that way because their physiology needs that to keep them alive. If you think about safety as their number one priority, they don't have much fat or much muscle, so they have to think their way and strategize out of places. So just to make this one a little bit bigger, you can see some of the correlations. So lower sex binding hormone. Then we have prolactin. So these are typically your guardian endomorphic type bodies. Sorry, no, this is your ectomorphic body. So the lower BMI, like I said, lower body fat, lower muscle mass, longer femurs, more neuroticism in women, and less extroversion in men. More antisocial behavior they notice with these type of people. When you're moving to the activator type body, just higher sex steroids, which influences jaw shape. That's why one of the measurements we do involves your jaw. Longer trunks, shorter femurs there, and they're visibly more muscular. So what has happened in the fitness industry for so long is we've looked at the way the people who love fitness, who love exercise, whose bodies respond really well to exercise, and we've been like, oh, we can see they get results really quickly. We must copy them without taking into consideration our different body types and shapes and how it's going to behave with the food we give it. So when we give that to someone who is the guardian over here, sorry, the higher prolactin and insulin, when this body is stressed, their body holds onto weight. And one of the biggest stress factors for a guardian is actually their family and social life. So if that's in disarray and they have a family that they can't like work with or can't get along with, they'll want to gain weight to feel safe, to feel stable. That goes against them so hard, and they want to conserve energy because they know that's the way it makes them bigger. It's just an evolutionary trait that they picked up to make themselves safe. And the genetics for these people you'll find are in countries where that was necessary. These people tend to, like I said, it's as when you become a mum as well, your prolactin levels raise. So that's why you gain weight so that you can handle your kid overnight. There's so many good things about this chemical as well. And people just think it's a negative because it helps you gain weight. It's not the case. But when we can help the people on this side understand, like, hey, if you can just put yourself first, you'll have more energy to take care of the family. And when they can truly, deeply understand that, it all just clicks for them. It all changes. So some exciting stuff with that. A little bit more about illness and disease, because like I said, that's a motivation for some people. A thick neck is associated with type 2 diabetes, a fatty liver, and heart disease, while being taller is related to heightened risk of at least 6 cancers. So the reason for that is the hormone for diplomats, who are usually taller, is insulin-like growth factor. So the insulin response or the growth factor response actually affects cancers. So it's making sure that we understand that and we take the proper approach to support the lifestyle so that doesn't happen. So both our genes and our gene expression tell the story of how our body may go out of balance. Take two people and give them the same life, a sedentary job, a high stress and poor diet. One of them has struggled with weight their whole life, generally finds it easier to put on weight, develops diabetes and a fatter liver from this life. However, the lifelong slender person, slight individual, doesn't have any issues with blood sugar or liver conditions. Instead, they lose weight and muscle, develop osteoporosis, and experience mental degeneration. So same environment, different disease. Does that make sense? Those people can still develop some of those diseases, but the likelihood of them being specific to a health type is greatly increased. So what's the secret? Introducing Shay. For those of you guys who haven't seen it, Shay is a fantastic app, and we just talked about a lot of science. I also missed a lot, so a lot of the other sciences involved. We have embryology, which we talked about, anthropometry, chronobiology, which is study of time and how that affects your body, We all know about circadian rhythm, but there's a lot more other rhythms within the body which make a massive impact. Geomedicine, where you actually live, this device, when you update it correctly and use it appropriately, then it will know where you are and what different sort of geomedicine things it needs to take into consideration. Same as climatology. Neuroscience, we know that depending on your health type, where in your brain that you are more responsive. We know for ectomorphic people, the frontal lobe, the more logical processing, you'll typically find those more slender people are very direct and just want logical things. Nutrigenomics, which is nutrition, molecular biology, how your cells behave and change, neuropsychology, so that's how your hormones influence your behaviors. I know for a lot of women going through menopause right now, this is like something that can be painful too. So getting your body in sync so that you're not having as many highs and lows through these periods can make an absolute difference in how you just respond to people, how your day-to-day life feels. Phenotypology, we talked about the shape of the body. Semiotics is similar. Exposomics, symptomology, and ancestry and genetic lineage. So thinking about the genetic lineage, it's like where your ancestors came from. If you look at Asians, for instance, they mostly have the same body shapes. Like it's very, very similar. And they have a specific diet, they have specific movements that they're able to do. And understanding this, if you took like when you think about migration, we never used to be able to go very far very quickly. Now I can end up in London, which is a completely different climate within 24 hours. So moving people to different areas, even in the last 100 years, we haven't evolved that quick. We take thousands of years to evolve. So we need to understand how these environments are going to impact us. And Shay can do that for us. So is it all a bit far-fetched? I thought a little bit. So at first, when I started introducing this, I was like, you know, people are just being healthier. Like I'm giving them accountability. I'm holding their hand. Of course, they're going to improve. It's happened hundreds of times before. And then I had quite a few guardian clients, which we'll talk about, um, do everything. And I kind of believed them. Like in the past, I was like, they're not disciplined enough. They're not doing it. But I had one client in particular who actually was doing it and swearing by it and showing up. And I was like, all right, there's a little bit more to this than meets the eye. And I remembered the epigenetics, and that's why I was like, I need to go back. So there was a photo of Marianne here, who's not on the call, but she's a previous client. She's done fantastic. I think she might be down like 12 or 15 kilos now. She's there most nights at night because we changed her training. And what you can see is the difference in her body results. So these were actually over quite a long time. And then when we introduced the epigenetics, like she was doing all the right things. And the reason it stuck out to me about her, she was like starting to reduce her membership because she was seeing no results. And I was like, look, let's give this one last chance. We did our first epigenetics run and the results instantly. I think it was like 2 or 3 kilos in the first 2 weeks from simply changing the time of day she was training and a couple of her foods. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away. And just how much of a difference it made on her life, insane. So this is why we need a precise approach. The issue is when we look at studies these days, they don't take this into consideration. They just grab a group of people and people who put their hands up for a fitness test. Do you reckon they're going to be people who aren't people who really like fitness? Probably not. So how do we know these studies are going to reflect the actual people we're working with, which are different on so many spectrums? So we need to understand that in some cases, there's going to be super responders, there're going to be low responders, there're going to be some good responders, and then there's going to be no like adverse responses. And we've known this for a long time. So they actually got a bunch of families to do this study about 30 years ago. And they found that through doing these tests, there was certain individuals and families that got no response. And then there was some families that got super responses. So they just didn't know how to formulate this. And it's taken so long to bring the information together and show it to us. The thing is that I found really like, you got to be kidding. Like, if you took a certain health type, and I had a photo of Kat there, lucky I remembered. Kat, if you aren't familiar with her, she's an Islander lady. She's been training at the gym for a while. She is down, I think, 30 kilos now. But when we had her training, she was doing boot camp. She's like, nah, I love it. I love the rah-rah, like all this. But she wasn't improving. Her knees were getting worse. So many things weren't connecting and making her healthier. And then I was like, look, we need to try this new approach. And what happened was we switched to strength training. and everything just felt easier. It felt better for her. So that meant that we're actually able to see results. She was more motivated. She started showing up more and started seeing even more results. So when things are working, we build our belief, our ability to take action reduces, and we just keep going for it because we're like, wow, this feels good. So this is all just to say, like, we need to make sure we treat people as individuals and stop using generic approaches. Even though we think we want to be like someone else, doing what they're doing will not work the same for you. It just needs to be understood. Another study showed this is another client, Vicky. She's fantastic. Like her waist, she doesn't want to weigh herself, which is fair. Some people don't want to, but just fits into all her clothes again. Her jeans, like I remember how happy she was. She's a Guardian client as well. Some of the changes through the studies, like if you were to give someone exactly the same calories but spread it throughout the day, there was a negative like 0.05. There was almost no change, right? And the insulin was barely affected versus when we incorporated the HealthType eating schedule, so bigger breakfast for her, 33:17, then you're able to see massive difference in the way the body deals with food, which is incredible. Like for so many years, everyone's like 6 meals a day. I was saying that because all the stuff that I read was telling us to do that. So to see these studies, to put it together, to see it work with so many clients now, there's actually like 10 photos here, but they're not there. Marianne and a few others. They're all almost 10 kilo plus weight losses when they've struggled with weight their whole life. So that's why my belief in this just keeps growing because the more people just put just enough into action, we're seeing fantastic results. It's not going to show anything. How annoying. Let me go out, guys. Um, so that's why the precision approach and just looking like, as I said earlier, these are all the things that really impact our health. And these are all the different markers that go into us as individuals. So it's not just to say you are one health type, but we have correlations and things that do help across the health types. And it also makes it easier for us to communicate amongst each other and be like, yeah, we're a little bit similar, we're diplomats or we have diplomat tendencies, which is fascinating itself. I also wanted to talk about Erin. So Erin obviously didn't need to lose weight, but I could see she was having troubles at work. I was chatting to her and I was like, hey, why don't you give this program a go? And by doing it, she was able to understand herself better. She was able to navigate her work environment, talk to the boss, communicate her needs. She actually got his job. She's the CMO now, or CFO, I think it is. And loving life. I mean, it's a harder job, but she got the pay packet, she got office with a view. And that's the cool thing about when you can live alignment with what you need and communicate it, then other people are going to respect that as well, especially if you can deliver when you probably will, because when you're feeling better, that's just going to help you deliver better. And that's where it comes back to a little bit around the lifestyle priorities. So when we understand your health type, we can then look at it and be like, okay, well, everyone thinks fitness and food, and I understand it. That's what's blasted in our face. But there's only two health types that have food as the second priority and only one that has fitness first. So if all these other things aren't in alignment, we're creating massive stress on our body. And this is actually our first point of call. We want to make sure that we go to this section and be like, okay, what in these sections in my life need help? A quick one, have enough time. Mind is for 3. How powerful and important is the mind, right? So for these people, connectors, they need to feel good about themselves to be able to have better relationships, to connect with people. No one that doesn't feel good about themselves connects with other people well. For a sensor, the mind is about safety. So if their environment, they don't feel safe in their environment, they feel threatened. This is really bad. The place is important too. If they're under cold air conditioning and an office can create anxiety for them. For Crusader, mind is about purpose and passion. So for me, this is where that ties in nicely. Like if I'm not on purpose, I'm just out of sorts. And then Genius is work. So tying those two together just makes me feel fantastic and I thrive off it. So this is the sort of second secret, guys. Like, yes, Shay's going to say, look, this is exactly what you need. But if you're not doing it in the order to suit your health type, then you may be missing out on massive levers. And you're not always going to be able to fix the thing in front. Like life is going to happen. But if you can get as good as you can on one and then move to the next stage and use Shay to understand more about each section, then you can use that leverage to create even more impact. And who knows, like as you work down the list, maybe the first thing can improve. Like for the Guardian, like, okay, maybe your social isn't working too well. Once your food, fitness, and place, and you're feeling really good, maybe you were the ass. And that's the reason why your social wasn't working out. Like it makes sense as you play it out. When it comes to coaching people, this is where I feel like I probably have let people down in the past, and want to make sure I do offer it better in the future is just more long-term accountability. So when you look at supporting the individual, the people I've coached on this side, I think like max like five or maybe six people. And it speaks volumes because they think they don't need to understand themselves better because they already get the results, right? Versus this side of the circle, I think I'm up to like 60 or 70 people on this side of the circle. And the reason is biologically, these people just need the support, and that's fine. But we just need to make sure we offer the systems to support them and get that going. The guys in the middle, a little bit different. Connectors just want fun. They want short-term things. They want variety. So if you just have a group of friends, you can keep them going. And then the sensors, if you can create a clear path forward and help them understand it, they're off and racing. So um, yeah, when we look at this side of the circle, this is typically the ones that struggle with weight loss. As soon as these guys get the first two in place, and Crusaders, once they understand fitness is important and not just work, then they're usually really good. So when a coach understands this on a biological level, not just a, hey, you're not disciplined enough, you're not eating the right food, then they can use the right approach to focus on the right thing at the right time, which is massively like it's going to save you so much time when you can pinpoint the issues. So, did I manage to shift your perspective tonight, guys? I know a few of you are already clients, so maybe did I re-motivate you to take a look again? Yeah, awesome. Um, yeah, it's worth getting excited about, right? And when you can get excited about it, you can understand where to look. You can use the tools, you can use the support. We all have each other as well. And what I've done is it's actually four options from here. So basically, I have a subtle cheat codes for people who don't know their health type but think they know what they might be, which is on this page. So if you're mesomorphic, muscular in nature, highly active, 6 meals a day will help you out. Protein, good for you. Training in the morning or night isn't going to make a massive difference as long as you're moving your body. You're going to feel a lot better. Probably reduce anxiety if you aren't moving your body. Then we have endomorphic people. So that was the right-hand side of the circle. They're generally larger people. 3 small meals, dinner being the smallest. 3 meals, dinner being the smallest. Less meat, specifically at dinner. The amount of people that said their sleep dramatically improved by doing that, through the roof. Training later in the day, massive impact. I know it's not always easy, but it is super powerful. Then we have the ectomorphs. So small, consistent meals, carb rich for your brain to keep functioning because that's the most important part for you. And then train with what you enjoy. So you don't need to smash yourself as a sensor. Like you'll notice Pilates, all those sorts of things will be filled with those people that have that type of body. It just suits their body better. I've got 1:45 on the clock, which is fun. We'll push through. You can get Shay, guys. So I'll reach out. I'll leave the information available for you guys to do that. And then you can dive in that way. Or if you want support from me, guys, I'm doing one-on-one coaching with people at the moment. So if that's something you need, I'm giving ThinkFit members 20% off as well. And then the other option, I'm starting an 8-week weight loss group for next Wednesday night. So similar as usual, $54 a week. It's going to have that weekly catch up. It's going to be a little bit different to last time. It's going to be more focused on the weight loss, but I'll still share some of the new stuff I have available. And then you'll get access to the app and the support and the chat group. The last one is keep following along with the group. Just use it as a source of motivation. I know, as I said at the start of this video, as I was talking to people, as I was adding people to the group, they were laughing. They're like, yeah, like I need this. I need the reminders. So keep looking out there. I'm going to keep posting the monthly themes, which are interesting. We'll probably do food next month. So I was telling Itzy. So a bit of food in that. And then just get people connected and moving towards their goals. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'm about to run out of time. Did anyone have any questions? Itzy, all good? Yeah, awesome, guys. Does anyone need any to chat after this and just get rolling again? Just general motivation or whatever. I know I've seen Julie back in the gym, so she's doing pretty good.
We'll,
Nah,
we'll
cool.
touch base another night anyway, Josh.
Yeah, probably next week. I don't think I'll be back out.